Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia, and this is the summary for the day of 930 for the 10th of September. So the frontline changes report has already been published on the main channel. So this is the situation report on the DPA War channel, two different channels. Check the subscription, make sure that is subscribed, and we're gonna bombard the like button because the like button very don't like us, so slap it and destroy it, fab it. And anyway, we're going to go into the Kursk front because major things has developed over the Kursk front, and the Russian forces have launched the counter-offensive operation over on the western flank of the Kursk front, with Russian forces attacking south of Karinevo and into the Snagos region, as well as over in the Vinnytsia region. So over in the western flank, as you can see, the Russian forces have actually attacked multiple locations, including Penasovka, Kubalki, Vyakovo, Vinnytsia, Viktorovka, Godievka, and Snagos. And there is already geolocation of the convoy released by the Ukrainian side. The Ukrainians actually detected the convoy. They posted the video in their geolocation, and they do not dare to talk much about what is currently happening. They are still trying to verify the situation at this moment. Based on the Russian side, the front line have actually changed, with the Russian forces now on the attack. And based on Russian claims, but these are more of towards rumors, Russian forces have even captured Blakovo, Vinnytsia, and Godievka region in a massive capture of grounds. But this is not confirmed. This is not confirmed. I just want to highlight because I'm 100% sure all the pro-Russian side, in terms of Telegram channels or Twitter or YouTube, they're all gonna be the saliva is all gonna come out, and you need to like clean the saliva because it's too much. It's not confirmed yet. So control yourself, control yourself. So anyway, we zoom in on this area first. There is fighting reported in the Kubalki region, and after that, based on the extended report, there is report of fighting over the Vinnytsia, and this comes after the reports of the mass offensive action. Current front line is being discomfort front line by the Russian side. It's still Russian claims, generally speaking. It's along the main road all the way down to Godievka, with fighting reported towards Vyakovo, Vinnytsia, Viktorovka, and Godievka. So it's a huge mass assault in this region here. And Uspanovka is also being shelled, according to the Russian Defense Ministry. So this push is unlikely for the Ukrainians to be able to hold. The Ukrainians don't seem to have enough troops. I did mention that I don't think they have enough troops. If I didn't mention it, then yeah, I'm telling you, I don't think they have enough troops because they are focusing on the offensive actions, and the Russians shouldn't have this much troops around this area. But I did also mention in the conclusions, if I made perhaps in some SITREPs, about the failure of the Ukrainians to close the Glushkovo river. The Russians continue to stream through in reinforcement, and the Ukrainians still are trying to hit the pontoons, according to Ryba in the latest report. However, it did not stop, and I did mention that the window of opportunity for the Glushkovo pincer offensive is over for the Ukrainians, and now we are seeing the results with the Russian forces gathered enough troops to launch a major offensive. It's also important to note Ukrainians are still at Krasnootobelsky, which is why the Russians can't possibly send troops from Karinevo down to the southern part. All the troops that is attacking over here is because they have managed to cross through pontoon crossings. And this is how they managed to come here and managed to launch an offensive right here. So this is the current situation for this area here. In the Karinevo region, Russian forces also attack southward. Let me zoom in a bit. Attack southward, and based on the geolocation, as the convoy go down the road, they are not attacked by the Ukrainian side. So this area is now under Russian control, is captured. The Ukrainians are not there, and Ukrainians are currently defending Snagos. The situation is very, very problematic for the Ukrainians because now they are potentially going to be encircled with the Russians attacking from the north, and then they are also attacking from the south at Blakovo and Penasovka. Ukrainians are currently counter-attacking over at Penasovka, and this salient here up to Krasno-Oktябrьske and Komarovka. Now we are not sure if the Ukrainians will still want to stay at this position. There's a high chance that if they do not have enough troops to deal with the Russians, they may actually do a mass retreat from the Snagos salient. If not, then they run the risk of encirclement and getting destroyed. So shelling was also reported over at Bukovka, and so that's all from the Snagos region. Very, very concerning situation for the Ukrainians. If you are watching this as from the Ukrainian side, we move on to the Karinevo region. So Russian forces are attacking in the Karinevo region and possibly heading south. Of course, this is confirmed, but possibly they are pushing now. Ukrainian forces, as mentioned in the situation report, already captured Mavievka most likely, and probably also Vetrino. This is already mentioned because we mapped it in earlier in before the SITREP from yesterday's. So situation unchanged, but the risk of Russian encirclement of Ukrainian forces in this area here also now starting to appear because the Russians seems to have finally completed their plans and formation of the counter-offensive force. This took a long time. I mean, Karinevo has been the offensive started around August 8th, or no, so it's around more than a month. The Russian took around a month to prepare the main force, because this is the main force. The thing that I has been talking about for a long time. I said that the Ukrainians have not even met the main force of the Russian troops. This is what I mean. The main force, you will probably see mass armored columns or convoys with a lot of ground troops. That's the main force. And now we are seeing this happening over in the Snagos or the western flank. So this is what I'm trying to say. There's also shelling reported at Lyubimovka and Novoivanovka. These rear positions, very normal. So over in the northern flank, we have other than the Russians pushing out in Karinevo, Russians are also continuing the attack at Olivka, Novaya Sorakina, as well as Malaya Loknia. Ukrainians are attacking Pogrebki as well as Kemishevka. So this is a continuation. Ukrainian forces geolocated in the forest, getting struck by an airstrike. So this is a known Ukrainian position. So of course the shelling at the two rear positions. So this is the general northern flank situation. This area here, nothing really have changed. So this is already general the similar situation as we have always been reporting daily. And like I said, it's a bad thing. If the front line don't change, the fighting positions don't change, then it's bad for the Ukrainians. On the eastern flank, Russian forces are still putting pressure on Matinovka. Ukrainians are still attacking Cherkasskaya, Konopelka. Shelling reported at Makhnovka, Kurilovka, Kubalkin, as well as Ivashkovsky. Yeah, so Ivashkovsky. So this is the current situation. Very few fighting already. I would say it's getting quieter and quieter. And over in the southern flank, there's still the clashes between the Russians and the Ukrainians over at Borky. So this continues to be the only place that is have some kind of fighting. And so we zoom out, we're gonna have some shelling reports. We have at Sumy, Pischane, and what is this? Krovne. There's some shelling around this area. Over at the Vorovba region, Bilapolia. So over here, Bilopilia, Iskriskiv Skena, as well as Boyaro Lezachi. This is a bit newer. These two is the common one. They have been doing this all the time. So there must be some still Ukrainian troops that's around here that's attracting the shelling, but the Russians are already on the counter, which means that this border in the Glushkovo salient is now a lot more reinforced, which means the Ukrainians would probably will not be able to do a counteroffensive. And there's also shelling reported in the Kursk region at Kursk, Puteshhorod, Svetsa, and as well as Yampil. So this is usual, but yeah, that's about it. Over in the Kharkiv front, at the Kharkiv front, Russian forces are shelling or attacking Mali Pokori. They are shelling Kravske, attacking Voschansk as well as Vochansky Kotori. But generally, this is pretty much the same thing. We have nothing over at Lipsy and Klipoke, so that's interesting. But otherwise, generally, the Kharkiv front is a stagnant front right now. We move into the Kupiansk front. Over at the Kupiansk front, Russian forces attacking at Sinkivka and Petrov-Belivka. Shelling reported at Kupiansk Veslovy, but that's about it. In the Kupiansk front, nothing special around here. Over at the Pischane front, Russian forces attacking towards Khrushchevka as well as Krylyakivka. Fighting is also reported towards Lozova. And yeah, so that's about it. Nothing special about this area as well. Moving into the Svetove front. At the Svetove front, Russian forces attacking at Sverdlovklipove, Druzelyubivka, Makievka, and Nevsky. So that's about it. Nothing, no news to report regarding this. Fighting reported in the Crimea fronts include Novosadove as well as Torsky. So yeah, the entire Oskil front is pretty boring. So let's move on. Over in the Sivers front, Russian forces continue their Sivers offensive with Verkhamokanyamsky, Sperne, and fighting reported at Vimka. So the Vimka is reported by the Russian Defense Ministry. Previously, they have already announced the capture of Vimka. So fighting is reported in the region, which is interesting. So let's see how this develop for the Sivers front. We move into the northern part of the Bakhmut front. Russian forces continue their attack in Zeleniansky region and Krykhovka, Kalinina, Chasivya, and Ivanivsky. Of significance, the Russian Defense Ministry announced the capture of Krykhovka. And this is one, and just now we already mentioned another one. Did I? Yeah, this is one of the many announcements of captures over the past 24 hours by the Russian Defense Ministry. So you'll probably see a few more later, including Krasnohorivka, Vodiane. So this is Krykhovka. So this situation continues over at Bakhmut. I don't think there is a which means that the Russians probably have already positioned something like this, but we still do not have the mapping updates to confirm this, which also could explain the reports of fighting over at Makrove and Maiske. But anyway, no, of course, it could also come from Kalinina. So let's continue to monitor the situation. Over in the southern flank of the Bakhmut front, there is nothing. Moving into the New York front. And the New York front, the fighting is largely around the Thorax region, with fighting reported at Pivnishne, Thorax, towards Skrbinivka, Nelipivka, shelling at Petrivka, and the new thing, attack towards Dashne. And the report of fighting at Dashne is by the Ukrainians. The Ukrainians actually reported this, Ukrainian Defense Ministry, which actually might be a quiet acknowledgement that Druzhba is now fully under Russian control. Because you can't reach Dashne without Druzhba. So which means the Russians have actually made some progress. And the Russians probably have already taken Druzhba by now. And they are now attacking towards Dashne, which is why the reports by the Ukrainian Defense Ministry is as such. So this is a very, very important development because it means that another phase has over. The Russians are continuing to push. So let's continue to wait and see how this goes. Moving on over into the northern flank of the Pokrov front. Russian forces are fighting in the region of Novo-Alexandrivka, Vozdevizhenka, Zviridonivka. Somehow there's fighting reported at Ivanivka according to the Ukrainians. And so that's about it. Over at the Horodivka, Novohorodivka region, Russian forces are attacking in the Horodivka and Novohorodivka region. Geolocation of Russian forces in the rear position at Horodivka. So no, nothing special about that. Over at the Selidove region, Russian forces have most likely captured Marinivka. given the situation. In fact, we can actually confirm because due to the geolocation, but I prefer to wait for the Ukrainian side to concede first. So fighting is reported at Marinivka, of course, Novohorodivka already mentioned. Fighting is reported at Mikhailivka and Selidove. So the Russians are still pushing in this region here, and we are now seeing the development happening. Let's see how this continued. This part of the same thing as mentioned in the Novohorodivka, where they just captured this area here. So now this just a logical and sensible progression of the offensive by the Russians on this area here. And over at the Ukraine's region, Russian Defense Ministry announced the capture of Helesinivka. So this, like I mentioned, this is one of the many that the Russian Defense Ministry over the past 24 hours announced the capture of. And we have first declared this captured on the 3rd of September. So it's been 1 week since. So the Russians probably now feeling more confident. Probably they have expanded control around Helesinivka to allow them to feel the confidence to announce this. Ukraine is now on the verge of encirclement, with Russian forces now starting to envelop Ukraine with a northern flanking movement, with the attack coming from two sides. The Ukrainian mapping also considered the entire northeastern part of Lysivka. So this is the current situation over in the Ukraine's region. It's getting quite bad. I think the Ukrainians will have to withdraw, or they might risk fighting in encirclement or an envelopment. So if you can see this formation, yeah, this clearly looks really bad. Like you can see how this encirclement is developing, especially the expansion of the southern part. If the Russians go to the rear position, then they will have no place to run. Currently, the Ukrainians still have this road to use, and two roads. They have two roads to use. The Ukrainians still have the chance to escape if they choose to do it now. But the window will close very soon, especially if the Russians, take the southern part of Ukraine, the Dacha regions, reaching the main road. Then they will have left with one road, and this comes also at a problem with the Russians already attacking in the northern flanking movement. So that will also possibly cut the other road. So the situation is getting actually very, very urgent for the Ukrainians over at Ukraine. So yeah, they have to make a quick decision whether to stay and fight, or counterattack, or run. So anyway, that's Ukraine. We move on from the Ukraine's region over in the Marinka region. Okay, Krasnohorivka first. The Russian Defense Ministry have declared the capture of Krasnohorivka, as well as Kharkovivka. So Kharkovivka I already mentioned just now. So give me a second. Okay, just fact checking, making sure that it's not the other Kharkovivka. There's one more Kharkovivka around here, but the front line is not there yet. So just to double confirm, I'm just checking, making sure that I got it right. So this is Krasnohorivka is they're still fighting around in the region. Probably the Russians are trying to push out and create a buffer zone around Kharkovivka, but Krasnohorivka. But the Russian Defense Ministry basically have announced the capture. So there must be some kind of frontline changes, because I believe the Ukrainians have already withdrawn. So we are just not yet seeing the results yet. Over in the Marinka region, the Russian forces, this Marinka, by the way, the Russian forces are attacking in the Georgievka region, south of Georgievka, west of Podyeda, as well as Masimilivka. So this starting to push. It looks like this area here is now an offensive region, but we shall wait and see how this continues, whether there is tangible changes or not. So moving further south in the Konstantinivka region, Russian forces are fighting in the region of Konstantinivka towards Katerinivka, towards Antonivka. So this seems to have started as well. It looks like it's part of a massive offensive across the entire Ukraine war by the Russians. So by this point, you probably have already heard me say the Russians are launching offensive like in so many of the fronts. So this is yet another one that is starting to wake up. The Russians are waking up, and they are now attacking Antonivka and Kateryniivka, moving away from Konstantinivka, and the Russian Defense Ministry also announced the capture of Vodiane, or Vodianoe. So this is yeah, looking really bad. The situation, and the Russians are pushing into so many places. I don't think the Ukrainians can cope. Moving into the Voleda region, there's fighting reported at Voleda. So, but that's about it. We move on over at the Velika Novosilka sector. Okay, there is fighting reported. Okay, I think I need to, let me see. Okay, let's do this. There's fighting reported towards Novo-Ukrainka and Prashestivka. So that's about it. There is no more fighting around this area of the Velika Novosilka sector. The fighting mainly is around this area here in Novo-Ukrainka. Just off Velika Novosilka, the Russian forces are attacking Levadny. According to the Russian Defense Ministry, they are taking in this direction. So this Levadny is one of these settlements that was captured by the Ukrainians in the Ukrainian counteroffensive in 2023. So yeah, so the Russians now counterattack. At this moment I don't think this is a major offensive yet. Probably just some fighting. So let's see how this goes. Over the Zaporizhia front, there is fighting reported in the Orikhiv and the Koyamsky sector. So there is fighting reported towards Novodanilivka, Mali Shebaki, as well as Koyamsky. So that's about it from this area here. It continues to be very hot, but it's still not yet an offensive just yet. So we will just continue to monitor and see, what the Russians are really planning to do. So now we move on over at the Kherson front. At the Kherson front, shelling is reported at Kherson as well as Ponyantivka, and there is fighting reported towards the Pridniprovsky crossing, but that's about it. So anyway, thank you for watching. Do press the like button, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the conclusions. So hopefully, yeah, YouTube will treat me better. Yeah, I posting videos on the wrong timings, and the views suffered because of competition, and now we need to climb up the trending again, because yeah, YouTube don't really like it, when the videos don't do as well. And yeah, it is what it is. That's my life. Thank you for watching. Do press the like button, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next update. Check out the conclusions.